Good morning, beautiful people. I hope you're having a great day so far. I know I am. I just fucking killed my upper day. I know I've been saying how much I love this new upper day. Well, I changed some things and oh my god, yeah, changed some things up and I'm getting lean and I feel amazing. So that's about it. I don't feel like shit from the cut yet, so it tells me that I have plenty of fat to lose. But I don't want to talk about cutting today. I want to talk about bulking. Now, if you know me, you know I am very anti-bulk. I think that they're dumb and you're going to get fat. And there's really no reason to bulk. And everyone always comes at me, bodybuilders bulk all the time. Yeah, they take steroids too. Are you on steroids? No? Didn't fucking think so. So, why should you not bulk? Well, first of all, understand that muscle gain is extremely slow. Outside of your first year, maybe year and a half, if you train like a dumbass for the first year, you're gonna be putting on muscle at grams at a time. Understand how tiny, how small that is. Grams at a time of new contractile tissue. That's literally like nothing. Like if you're natural, you can, and you're past your first 1 or 2 years of training, you can maybe hope to eke out 5 to 7 pounds of muscle mass a year. If you're really dialed, if you have great programming and great nutrition, that's what you can expect. And so bulking, especially the traditional bulk, the first bulk that I ever heard was you need to put on a pound a week. And if you just take a little bit of time to think about that, that's 52 pounds in a year. Who the fuck is putting on 52 pounds in a year? I did. I got fat as fuck. I graduated high school at around 160. I'm 6'3". That's beanpole type shit. And then I bulked over that, pretty much turned 18 right as I graduated. And then I just decided, hey, let's get jacked. So I started eating like a fat ass all the time. It's funny because my first bulk, I didn't even dirty bulk. I just ate so many calories of like clean foods that I hated life. I was eating chicken and rice and fucking egg whites and Greek yogurt and lean ground beef, shit like that all the time. I was eating like around 4,000 calories. And yeah, I put on a lot of muscle, but guess what? I put on a lot more fat. I got up to 230. For reference, after this last building phase, I just got to 230 again, and it is 4.5 years later. Well, actually, no, 4 years since the last time I was 230. But it took me 4 years to get back to 230, and this 230, I still was like overweight a little bit. I was not where I wanted to be. I was definitely around 20%, maybe even higher than that in terms of body fat percentage. And that's mainly because I moved to Austin and there's a lot of really good fucking food here, especially for a kid from Wyoming. There ain't shit in Wyoming. You come to Austin, there's everything. Man, we didn't even have an Italian restaurant in the fucking town I grew up in. But come here and there's literally every type of food under the sun. There's Ethiopian food here. There's the whole point of this video is fucking bulking, and I'm just getting off topic. But you shouldn't bulk because you're not going to put on a lot of muscle in the first place. Even in your first year, you're going to put on a shit ton of mass, and you do have a little bit of insurance in your first year. So they've done studies, and even just anecdotally with clients that I've had and with other coaches that I've talked to, when someone is in their first year of lifting, you can put them into a pretty sizable surplus and they won't gain very much fat mass. They kind of just have this ability to load everything up. All the calories just basically go to muscle. For the most part, obviously you are going to put on some fat. At the end of the day, you can't be in a surplus and not be gaining some fat. But if you're in your first year, you have a lot of insurance. After that, I would say just main gain. Maybe put in a 50 to 100 calorie surplus. But this is where I'm going to get into the details of how, if you're going to do a surplus, this is the smartest way that I would do it. And that is purely with protein. So my logic behind this is Jose Antonio in his lab has done like a lot of beautiful, well-ran studies of protein overfeeding. And they've done it, it's pure protein, so it's egg white protein. Literally just, the macros is just protein 00. That's it. And they essentially, and they've done these multiple times. And what they find every single time is that the group that they will overfeed with protein, up to 800 calories over maintenance of just protein. So if you take your normal macros that you would have at maintenance, and then you just smack on 800 calories of just protein, increase that whatever protein number is to another 800 calories, then you're looking at essentially the protein calories just kind of disappear. So they don't gain any fat mass, and they recomped in some instances. So they essentially lost fat and they gained muscle at the same time, even though they're eating in a surplus, because it's very, very hard for your body to store protein as adipose tissue, as fat. So if you're thinking about doing a surplus, if you're at a super lean body fat percentage, and when I say super lean, I'm talking anything below 12%. I wouldn't even consider below 12% super lean. I would say 10 to 12 is lean, and below 10 is super lean. And if you are at that point where you are super lean, then, and you've been at maintenance for a little bit, and you decide that you want to go into a surplus, you want to go into a building phase, just take whatever you're at maintenance and jack your calories up. We'll say 400 calories maybe in just protein, and just see what happens. And you can, if you want to start on, I say 400 because that's kind of the middle ground of what they've done in these overfeeding studies. And personally, this is all just theory, because I've never done this. I've never done it with any of my clients. I've never done it myself. This is how I plan on doing my next build. That's why I'm trying to get super lean right now. But essentially, based on these studies that have been repeated and they find the same results every single time, if you want to do a surplus and you don't want to gain fat, you want to be in that ideal muscle building range of calories, then you're gonna want to just jack your protein up. And in terms of fats and carbs, fats, you have a floor. It's about 0.33, so a third of your body weight and of lean mass, and per gram, or sorry, 0.33, so in gram of your body weight. Fuck me, English is hard. So 0.33 grams per pound, so of lean mass. So if you're at, I'll just use myself as an example, 200 pounds normally, and that puts me, we'll fucking make it easier because I don't want to do math. I just got done with the gym. We'll do 150 grams, or 150 pound person. So a third of that is 50 grams. That's pretty much the floor of where you want to go with your fats for hormone function and brain health. Now, this is variable person to person. So if you are at 50 grams and you feel great, then you can always try. I always recommend that people do blood work, at least periodically. You know, do it every 6 months. But if you want to do a low-fat diet, start with 50 grams. If you're 150 pounds, go with 50 grams. If you feel great on 50 grams of fat and you want to go lower to throw some of those carbs, some of those calories into carbs, go for it. Maybe drop at 5 or 10 grams at a time, because your 50 grams is already really low fat. So drop maybe 5 or 10 grams of fat and put those into carbs, because you're already going to be at, your protein should not be really changing that much unless you're applying this strategy. So let's just say 150 grams, 150 pound person, 50 grams is your floor for fat. You've already got your protein super high, you're in your protein surplus, so you don't want to touch your protein. You don't want to add any more. Then take the calories that you would be having from fat and put those into carbs. Because when we're talking about the amount of carbs that it takes to maximize performance, we're looking at anywhere from about 4 to 8 grams per kilogram. So if you're sitting there and you're doing the math in your head, that's a lot of fucking carbs. And you're thinking, well, damn, if I'm eating, we'll say a gram per pound is a pretty good baseline of how much protein I normally recommend. You can go lower for sure. I just personally like to have it a little bit higher. Because there's no downside of having a higher protein intake. It's harder to turn it into fat mass. And it just makes me feel more satiated. And normally I get to a gram per pound pretty easily. Like if I'm trying to eat less than a gram per pound, I kind of have to change how I like to eat. And I'm a big boy at heart. Trust me, I grew up a fat kid. So I want my calories and I'm always hungry. So even at maintenance, even in a surplus, I'm always hungry. So I like having a lot more protein just so that I can be more satiated. But we'll say that we're at a gram per pound of protein, and then you add your 800 calories, however much you're comfortable with, and you're not gaining fat. This is where it's important to not just look at the scale, look at your pictures too. So if you're in this surplus and you add 400 calories, so that's an extra that's an extra like 100 grams of protein, to be honest. That's a lot, but because each gram of protein is 4 calories. So if you're adding 400 calories, you're adding 100 grams. And so if you're at 150 that we're just using as our hypothetical, instead of doing 150 grams of protein, you're at 250. And then you have your fats at 50, and then your carbs to maximize, again, anywhere from that 4 to 8 grams per kilogram. Now, 150 pounds divided by 2.2, that's how you get it into kilograms, is like 70-ish. And so if we're thinking, okay, 70 times 4, it's 280, right? Yeah. We're at 280 grams of carbs already. So if you're just doing the math in your head, okay, 280 grams of carbs times 4, that's 800. So you're already at over 1,000 calories from carbs. From protein, if we're at 250, then that's another 1,000 from protein. And then if we're already at like 2,100, 2,200, and then you add in another 50 from fats, it's another 400, 450. So we're already at like 2,600 calories pretty much. And that's a lot. So, especially for a 150 pound person, that's a lot of fucking calories. So you might be, and that's the floor of carbs. So that's where you might want to start taking from fats and dumping them into carbs and just seeing how you feel, and make sure that you're getting your blood work done. Because if your hormone function is fine and you feel fine, then you're fine. That 0.33, everything is always a generalized population. That's why every coach is always saying get a coach, because when you're going off a general populace, essentially anything from the literature, you're just looking at an average. You're not looking at what is optimal for you. That's why every coach, any good coach, is going to tell you to experiment. They're not just going to shove you in some general pop thing and say this is the best way to do everything. They're going to look at it how you respond and then manipulate your variables up and down. So if you feel good and your hormones are fine when you're at 50, then you can drop them, we'll say maybe 40. And and then test that out for a week or two and see how you feel then. And if you still feel great, monitor your blood work. And ideally, absolute ideal. I don't have my clients do this unless they really want to. But ideally, you're getting blood work done monthly. That's the best that you can do, is getting your blood work done every month. But obviously, that's not in the cards for most people. It's expensive, and it's just unnecessary. But again, I'm talking about optimization. So if you're getting your blood work done and you notice that your test is fine, it should be because you're in a hypercaloric, you're in a surplus, then you can just lower them again until you hit a point where it's just unfeasible. Like getting in 250 grams of protein and less than 50 grams of fat is going to be rough. You're going to be eating lean sources of protein. And if you are going this low fat, you have to be supplementing omega-3s. Just point blank, you have to be supplementing omega-3s because you're not going to be able to eat basically any eggs or salmon or any other fatty fish to get your omega-3s in. So you have to be supplementing. Right now, I'm on a super low fat diet. I just got my blood work done, and my HDL was a little bit lower than it used to be, which is the good cholesterol. So I bumped I was doing 2 grams of fish oil a day. I do 4 now. And if I go in again and it's bad, if it hasn't improved, then I'll bump it up again. So you need to be supplementing your fish oil, your omega-3s, if you're going to be doing a low fat diet. But this is how I would approach a surplus if I was going to do one. This is how I'm going to approach my next one. So I'll let y'all know. Again, this is all based in theory, and it's all based on Jose Antonio's studies. I would really highly suggest that y'all look into that. He's done, I think, 4 of them, and they're protein overfeeding. Like I said, up to 800 calories of protein over maintenance, and the calories just seem to disappear. No one gains fat. If anything, sometimes they lose it and they gain lean mass. And so I would say bump your calories. I know I said 400 at first. Now that I'm thinking about it, if you want to be on the conservative side, just do a 200 calorie surplus of nothing but protein. And so 200 calorie surplus of just pure protein on top of what your maintenance is. Your fats, your floor is 0.33 grams. You can go lower if you feel great. And then carbs anywhere from 4 to 8 grams per kilo. So for me, I'm at 200 pounds, and 8 grams per kilo is essentially like 750 grams of carbs a day. That's basically fucking impossible. But again, we're talking about optimizing here. That's why you're probably gonna get pretty fucking fat if you're eating the optimal amount of carbs to maximize your muscle gain. But 4 is normally gonna be fine. And yeah, that's my essentially thoughts on surpluses. If you're gonna do them the traditional way where you just add carbs, that you're just gonna get fat. We've seen multiple times in studies. There's not a lot of studies that really look at hypercaloric diets. The one that we do have that I reference a lot that everyone likes to shit on because the sample size isn't very big. I'm like, we have barely any data to look at. So it looked at maintenance versus 5% versus 15% surpluses, and they all gained similar amounts of lean mass. They didn't gain any more. The 15% gained more strength. Wonder why? Because they got fat. They gained a lot more fat. And when you get fat, you have better leverages. your internal moment arm is bigger. So internal moment arm is from the bone out to the muscle. So if I'm fat now and it's out up here now, and I have some intramuscular fat, it's gonna be out here. Now my leverage is better, so I can lift more. Because 9 times out of 10, this is why you have the classic, oh, I bulked and I got super strong and then I cut and I lost it all. No, you didn't gain any fucking muscle. Your leverages got better because your internal moment arms increased. And then when you lost the fat, your leverages went back to what they were and you didn't put it on any muscle. So, but even in that one, lean mass was the same across the board. The strength gains were a little bit better for the 15%, again, because their leverages increased, because they gained significant amounts of fat. Significant. This was only an 8-week trial, I think, 8 or 12. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they gained significant amounts of fat. They gained no more lean mass. That was only on a 15% surplus, right? So if you're thinking about something like that's like a 200 calorie surplus if you're taking like a 2,000 calorie diet. And so most people would consider that a small surplus, and you still are going to gain more fat. You're not going to gain any more lean tissue. So I would say if you're going to do it, increase your protein, make your surplus entirely from protein, put your fats as low as you can, and try to dump the rest of your calories into carbs, and see how that works out. Take pictures, because you don't want to just be looking at your weight. You want to be looking at your weight, your performance in the gym, and your body composition. And this is where a coach is nice to have, because your eyes are they're going to deceive you. You're going to look at your pictures, you're going to say, I haven't changed a bit. And then your coach is going to look at it and say, you're getting fat as fuck. Or he's going to say, damn, you're getting jacked. So anyways, that's my yap. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you know what to do if you want to bulk. Peace out.